Hey Andy XL back again with another NFXL podcast and episode 29 of my State of the Franchise addresses. We'll look at the Los Angeles Rams and how their season went last season, what they might have to look forward to next season, and what they have to do this off season in order to improve on their efforts of 2025, 2026. So, the Rams were the team that posed the Seahawks the most questions last season, and as such, go into this season as probably the second best team in the league from last term. Now, Patriots fans will say, hold on a minute, we finished second. But for me, the Rams are a better team. That's all I'm saying. But with the Matthew Stafford window of opportunity closing rapidly, they need to find a way to get even better to win a second Super Bowl in the Stafford era. The good news is that they do have cap space to work with, 40 to 50 million roughly, and also have 4 picks on the first 2 days of the draft, including 2 round 1 selections. Now that's a rarity for Rams in recent years, but they've got them. So they've got the opportunity to improve by using that cap space and the draft capital they've got. Making the most of those would make them one of, if not the favourites to win it all next season. Now, in my earlier piece on the Chargers, I've said they've got a great opportunity to do things. So let's just float it out there. Could we have an all LA Super Bowl next season? It's a possibility for sure. Right, quarterback. This is the final year of Matthew Stafford's contract, and we're back up Jimmy G hitting free agency. There is a clear opportunity to draft an apparent successor to Stafford to redshirt behind him next season. Now, I've already said this quarterback class isn't the greatest, but there are one or two that maybe with an opportunity to sit and develop behind a quarterback need that extra year or two of experience. I mean, Ty Simpson hasn't got a lot of game time experience for Alabama. Carson Beck has, but he was very interception prone until his final year last year, which he had a really good year after transferring from Georgia to Miami. Now, Beck has some similarities to Stafford in that regard, so he might be a nice fit. You know what I'm saying? There's one or two there. Garrett Nussmeier, another one. They could slide them in and not have to go very early in the draft to take them and let them redshirt behind Stafford to be possibly the heir apparent. So, what about Stafford? Well, MVP was what he was last year. He was spectacularly good, and one last hurrah anywhere near that level, and he will certainly give the Rams a great opportunity in 2026. At running back, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum rushed for just short of 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns last season as the Rams ranked 10th for offense. Williams also had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns as a receiving back. With both signed up for next season, the Rams look well set at running back too, so quarterback and running back shouldn't be a major problem for them next season. Wide receiver, Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams gave the Rams pretty much as strong a 1-2 punch as anybody at wide receiver, combining for 2,609 yards and 25 touchdowns. Xavier Smith, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittingham, and Kanata Mumfield combined for 758 yards and a couple of touchdowns in support of the big two. Atwell's now a free agent and Smith an exclusive right free agent. Smith also saw time as a kick returner, but it is so he's probably going to be brought back on that basis, but Atwell may be allowed to move on. With both Adams and Nakua entering contract years, drafting a replacement for Atwell as well as a potential succession plan, particularly for Adams, would make sense too. The tight end position, the Rams, now, they were another team that operated in like 3 tight ends last season and shared the load between them. Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, and Davis Allen combined for 720 yards and 9 touchdowns. Higbee's now a 33-year-old free agent and may be expendable this off-season, especially if the Rams were to go after a free agent addition. But it's also possible they use one of those draft picks on a tight end. Don't rule that out as they seek to get better at that position. But they're pretty well set there. They're not, especially with the wide receivers being so good, they don't need a lot from tight end. And, even if Higbee left, Ferguson and Allen, not too bad, but they'd like to add something to it, is what I'm saying. Offensive line. With Stafford being sacked just 23 times last season and the running game going well, that has to reflect very well on the O-line's performance. All 5 starters are ranked in the top 15 at their position by PFF last season, and all 5 are signed up for next season. You couldn't really ask for a better picture. Making that O-line a unit the Rams do not need to tamper with this off-season. In line with the window of opportunity for the Rams theory. Four of those five are about to enter contract years, though. So maybe drafting an O lineman for beyond 2026 could be an idea. But it's, like I said, with Stafford probably in the final year in the NFL, probably, and this O line having four in a contract year, and Devontae Adams, Tyler Higbee, moving on, probably. You can see what I'm saying about this year might be the big year that the Rams have to make that push, otherwise their window might shut. Right, defensive tackle. Let's have a look at the defense now. The Rams had a number one ranked offense. Sorry, start that again. The Rams had the number one offense, but ranked 14th for defense. So we'll be looking for ways to get that defense into the top 10 next season to get them over the hump and into the Super Bowl and then hopefully to win it from their point of view. Kobe Turner and Poona Ford were their primary guys at the heart of the D line. Both were ranked in the top 10 defensive tackles by PFF and will be back next season. So, like the O line, the heart of the D line doesn't need any attention. This is all good news for the Rams so far, really, if you think about it. On the edge, 47 sacks and no fewer than 117 quarterback hits show the Rams had a really strong pass rushing unit last season. 30.5 of those sacks and 83 of the quarterback hits came off the edge. Byron Young and Jared Verse, along with Braden Fisk, were the leaders of that particular pack. And all of this group will be back again next season. So once again, no need for any activity here. There's really not a lot of need so far, is there, that's coming up here. Inside linebacker Nate Landman and Omar Spates were the starting inside linebackers last season. Both performed well, and once again, they're signed up for next season, making this yet another stable position for the Rams. At safety, having established the Rams are good or better at inside linebacker, defensive tackle, and on the edge, we need to look at the secondary for why the Rams ranked a lowly 19th against the pass. Cameron Curl and the other Cameron, Kitchens, had very good seasons at safety, and Jalen McCullough provided good support too. Curl's now a free agent and must be one of the top priorities for the Rams to re-sign this off-season, and they may look to add depth to here, possibly via free agency at a reasonable cost. So if they're all right at safety, what about cornerback? That's all that's left on the board to look at here for why they had a lowest ranking against the pass. Quinton Lake was very good at nickel and was a big miss after going down with an injured elbow in week 11. So let's factor that in. Kobe Durant and Emmanuel Forbes started 29 games between them at cornerback. Darius Williams was another loss, injured mid-season. But Forbes certainly struggled. So if they can get Williams back along with Durant, there you go. With Durant, Roger McCreary, Akello Witherspoon and Darian Kendrick all being free agents, the Rams certainly have the opportunity to revamp and upgrade at the outside cornerback positions. And for me, that has to be their major objective this last season. The Rams were in the bottom 10 in the league against wide receivers last season, and that has to change for them to succeed next season. Special teams then. Harrison Mevis and Ethan Evans look set to continue with the boot in 2026, although Evans was not great punting the ball last season, so there's an option there for him to look at. Exclusive right free agent Avia Smith, I've already touched on, is the one they need to get re-signed for kick returning duties, or maybe they could hand that role to Jordan Whittington if Smith is not signed up. Right, so in summary for the Rams, it is, as I've said, it's probably next season or a while until the Rams win another Lombardi trophy. So in terms of this decade, this might be their last opportunity. So it's a massive off season for them, but the opportunity is there. If they can add a third weapon at wide receiver, maybe upgrade at tight end, they can make last season's number one offense even better next season. On defense, they look pretty well set too, but the outside cornerback positions are the area they can clearly get better at next season. Apart from those four needs, i.e. a wide receiver, a tight end, and possibly two cornerbacks, some of which might be sought via free agency, the Rams can use their early draft picks really for succession planning and cherry pick the best best player available, regardless of position. Although, like I said, they could look at quarterback, wide receiver, and the O line in terms of that succession plan. In short, the Rams were close to winning it all last season and do not have a lot of work to do to make themselves significantly better in 2026. And they get one or two injuries back on the defensive side. They have the cap space and draft picks to work with, making this an opportunity they have to make the most of, because beyond 2026, a rebuild could well be on the cards. So, massive off season, massive next season for the Rams, because after that, I think they might be vulnerable, let's put it that way, as they seek to reset. So that's it for the Rams. We've got three left to come on this now. So we've got Denver, New England, and the reigning champion Seahawks to look at. So they'll be coming up soon. Take care for now.